Mm, this is petty, and I like it. This is petty,
It
and
it,
I like
it
it.
is
This is
very
juicy and petty.
this way. The countersuit claims that Sokolove they accuse them of routine bait and switch tactics as part of their law firm's business model as a call center for co counsel firms rather than depending on practicing lawyers. They're saying that this is a quote from the suit Sokolov Law's illegal business models consist of unfair and deceptive acts and omissions that have directly and foreseeably caused and continue to cause damage to Stone PC for which Sokolov Law is liable. So they're saying they're a lead generation site. They're not even a law firm. And because of that, they're stealing business from us with these unfair trade practices. Hey, everybody, it's Alan and Victoria from Blue 7 Content. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to get Victoria to react on a current news story that is related to the legal industry and kind of related to the legal marketing industry. It's interesting, it's juicy, it's gossip, so of course we have to talk about it. Victoria,
Yes.
so there are two law firms that are suing each other out of Massachusetts in the Boston area.
Okay.
One of them is Sokolove Law, who you may have heard of,
Yep.
and the other is Jason Stone Injury Lawyers,
Okay.
JSIL, throughout the paperwork. So there's a lot of back and forth there. It's not just one lawsuit. One of them sued the other. The other has now
Yeah,
done a
countersuit.
countersuit.
Yeah.
So what I think is interesting is when we get to the countersuit, doesn't directly answer the original lawsuit. But so here we go. In a battle of legal heavyweights, Sokolov Law has filed lawsuit against Jason Stone Injury Lawyers and their new operations chief, their new chief operating officer, Keith Glover. They are alleging theft of trade secrets and proprietary methods by a former employee. So, on the surface, it looks like this Keith Glover went from Sokolov Law to Jason Stone Injury Lawyers and
As the
brought some
chief of
stuff with him.
operator.
He is their COO,
Okay.
and they are doing well, I'm assuming, because the lawsuit spawned. So, Sokolov claims that Glover, the new COO at Jason Stone Injury Law, stole their digital operations playbook. And they're saying this is a highly guarded system that they think is the backbone of their decades long success. And they say that Glover used that to fuel JSIL's growth. Now, I'm not going to go too far. I have more information, but as it is right now, I just want to hear what you think.
What's interesting is there's a kind of like an unwritten rule or maybe code of ethics in the SEO world that seem to suggest that if you are creating a strategy for a PA firm in like one state, one area, that you shouldn't be working with a similar client.
Yeah.
And reason for that is that there's like kind of conflict of interest, right? And that, it's conflict of interest. So, but there's no real like rule, right? There's no like punisher at the end being like, no, you can't do that, right? It's just like a way that we formulate our ethos in this SEO world.
Right. So if
So
you and I we had a full board SEO company, we probably wouldn't want two family law offices right next door to one another. Right.
exactly.
It'd be too similar of stuff.
Too similar, too competitive, right? And if one strategy worked better than the other, then we couldn't then implement that better strategy because there would be a conflict. So, but what's interesting is that this firm is trying to assert that their kind of like strategy, their marketing strategy and playbook is a trade secret. Unless there were some forms of NDA signed or now granted I am not an attorney for this area of law.
Yeah. She's a lawyer. She's not their lawyer.
I'm not their lawyer. And in that particular area, I'm a novice. But it seems as if there wasn't some type of contractual obligation there, then then this is really more of like an assertion of like a new area that they're trying to bring up, like again, I don't know. Did you read anywhere that there was some NDA or that there was some employee
Well,
contract limiting, information? Like I know when things are when you have like intellectual property, right? When you have like licensed material, then like yeah, right? Like if you're working at a pharmaceutical company, you jump to another pharmaceutical company, right? Like there is licensed stuff that you're not allowed to share. I know that like in the tax realm, when you move from like let's say like a Deloitte to what like a EY, right?
yeah.
Like there is a frustration because you are sharing that information. And there's usually like whenever someone does jump from one company to the next, they sever it really quickly so that you don't have time to gather that information. But there is
Right. You
also
lock
no
them out,
real
basically.
right. But there's also no real like it's just pure professionalism. There's not any real like hard fast law. And maybe there is, right? Like, come at me, right? Because this isn't my area of law that I work in. But it's really interesting. So, like, what is the other firm countering?
Well, there's more information that you may be able to take and redo your analysis a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So they do not mention any NDA in the any of the documents that I have found. But
Okay.
so Sokolove law is saying that Glover, we mentioned, use their playbook, right? And that they say this has been their secret sauce. It's in the documents behind nearly 5 decades of success. They're saying this isn't vague or generalized copying. They are alleging that Glover replicated Sokolov's entire internal systems for running their business. The most concrete example cited that I can find is that they use. So what I'm kind of understanding is that they built a whole kind of uh, project management system in the background and
Whoa.
probably had on their Google. They're saying it's the Google Sites intranet, so it's inside the firm. They had their own stuff built up. They're saying that he took. And now this is where it gets real interesting. And all their stuff was housed here: their internal procedures, their training documents, their intake scripts, PowerPoint materials, quizzes, links to the CRM, and other knowledgeable resources. They're saying that Glover copied every bit of this, including its structure and content. And notably, they've been able to prove through a digital beacon that they found that it was accessed by not only Glover, but people within the other law firm. 53,000 times they were able to access Sokolov's back system. So when this was all found out, he cut them off, but he had already done all that. So beyond
Oh.
copying the internal operations, Sokolov is also accusing JSIL of copying branded materials and marketing campaigns. Not only did they discover that they had accessed their system potentially about 53,000 times, JSIL's people were able to get in and access and grab those documents that were all part of the old system, probably had Sokolov branding. Not only that, they're also saying that Sokolov says that JSIL copied their branded materials and marketing campaigns, although this will probably be a little bit harder to prove because a lot of law firms use very similar tactics. But
Yeah.
so now what do you think? Now that you know that he had copied everything that they had ever done for their digital playbook and they just used it and allowed the new firm to access it.
Show me your employee handbook.
I want to
Show
know what
me
kind of
the.
contract they had in. Did they ever in anywhere say specifically that he couldn't do that?
I mean, again, I'm really limited in my knowledge on this because it sounds wrong. But just because it sounds wrong doesn't mean it's legally wrong.
He says
Um,
now he has admitted apparently to taking the materials, but downplayed the value. said they
course.
were basically just templates and that he changed how the copy material was hosted to avoid, you know, any kind of plagiarism.
Question, when was
Yeah.
he hired?
I don't, let me go in here and see if the story
Because I'm
says.
questioning how much of the stuff that he shared was stuff that he created on his own. And I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I don't know so I don't know the time frame between from how long he's been with the new firm as their COO.
Um,
So I don't know, and I don't know if they continued using material that was generated after he no longer worked there, because that would make it even
mm,
worse, I think.
mm. Okay, but what's the
It's
counterclaim?
okay. So as we mentioned, JSIL has filed a countersuit, and they say they didn't directly answer the original suit. But they are saying, and this is where you and I can have some conversation about this, that they basically say Sokolove is not even a real law firm. They're saying they are basically running a lead generation site and that they use referral. They just refer out. They're a lead generation site to refer out to other firms. And so what they're saying is their countersuit claims that because of Sokolov's practices, they are. Let me get this. Let me get the exact way. Let me reword it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me find it because I want to get their say. Let me pull up the article. Okay. So in JSIL's countersuit against Sokolov, in a complaint filed just last week, maybe even this week, the countersuit claims that Sokolov they accuse them of routine bait and switch tactics as part of their law firm's business model as a call center for co counsel firms rather than depending on practicing lawyers. They're saying that this is a quote from the suit. Sokolov Law's illegal business models consist of unfair and deceptive acts and omissions that have directly and foreseeably caused and continue to cause damage to Stone PC for which Sokolov Law is liable. So they're saying they're a lead generation site. They're not even a law firm. And because of that, they're stealing business from us with these unfair trade practices.
Mm.
So Sokolov's filed a lawsuit, but they've opened up a whole can of worms over
Yeah,
something that
they
is a sticking
did.
point in the legal marketing industry because we hear about this all the time. We know quite a few of these firms that do this.
Yep.
What do you think?
I know marketing firms that do this.
Well, not yeah. Well, and yeah. So is Sokolov Law even? I mean, how is their law firm even the one operating the lead generation sites? They might have a separate company that's not a law firm doing the lead gen and referrals, but saying it's Sokolov Law. So I could see that also being an issue.
That's an issue because you can't misrepresent yourself, right? That's a firm misrepresenting itself. Um, However, if mm, this is petty and I like it. This is petty and I like
It
it.
is
This is
very.
juicy and petty. Um, yeah, man, this is like ABA rules right here that are being like I don't even oof, I have like so many thoughts. So I think the counterclaim is meatier than the original complaint from Sokolov. Um, I think the COO that left probably left because of dirty practices that were going on. Um,
And then decided to go to a what he would consider a real law
a
firm,
real
right?
law
We're
firm.
not saying you're not real, Sokolov. Don't sue us, but we're nobodies. Don't worry, we're not going to
Here's the
ruin
thing,
anybody's
though. But
reputation.
here's the thing. I would like to know kind of the timeline because at one point, Sokolov probably was a
Oh,
traditional law firm that then like used their social networking potentially right? Like prior to the internet, like maybe just literal networking, to establish relationships in which you can point people in the right direction.
I'm sure they had a kick-ass referral system if they had been around for 4 or 5
Yeah.
decades, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, people this is not anything. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, lead generation stuff. I'm saying that's a way that people make money. You're good at advertising. You have a lot of
Yeah.
money to pour in the advertising. You get it all in. You have a group. Now, if they don't practice at all, if they don't do cases, that's yeah, that's a little bit
I
deceptive if they're
think
not
that's
doing
deceptive.
cases.
I think that's not okay. Like, I
Like if
think it
Sokolove law is real, then it's okay. If they're not real, if they're a front for lead gen, then I think,
I think
that's
that's
also.
misleading.
But the countersuit, I mean, should be its own lawsuit almost. I
It
almost
is.
hesitate to call it a countersuit.
Well, they don't have to be the exact same. They can be.
No. Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's a harder battle for Sokolov to fight that counter versus the original claim.
They did briefly answer in the counterclaim. This is could be a nod to the original lawsuit. It says that Sokolov has engaged in overt threats to Stone PC about its marketing practices, and they used Glover's move as a pretext for disparaging JSIL. So, I mean, these guys are obviously competitors, right? They're they're going up against each other in the digital realm up there in Boston and the surrounding areas of Massachusetts. So this is probably something that's been boiling for a while between them
Probably.
and a lot of people up there. I'm sure, hell,
Yeah.
this stuff boils everywhere in the legal marketing industry. We know every single market has a lead gen attorney that's a big name that probably
Yeah.
doesn't try a thing or do any of their cases. Probably
Yeah.
refer most of them out.
Yeah. Well,
So I guess there's,
you look at the Akeems of the world, right? Like
yeah.
the whatever, the ones that are in South Carolina. Like the thing is, they get their name plastered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone calls and they don't get that attorney. They get sent then to an associate attorney. But
Well,
you
and a
don't
lot,
know.
even on like just to say a George Sink, he's big down here in South Carolina. You
Yeah.
can see on like their regional commercials on the which I don't know how I see any commercials anymore, but when you see the commercials, it for a George Sink commercial, it'll have his whole thing in the background, but on the bottom it'll say, "Bloop, this case will be handled by attorney such and such out of this such and such office." It's not
Yeah.
George Sink,
They,
it's the other attorney. So that I can see that as a way of getting around it.
yeah,
Uh,
the disclaimer.
Now is, and I don't know what the Sokolov situation is. I'm not familiar with the Boston PI attorney beef, which although I think I should be now, I'm going to be watching it now.
Yeah.
So, Keith
Ooh.
Glover, I have not even looked at Keith Glover. I would say they probably have some beef and probably will make some leeway with the fact that he straight up allowed the new firm into the old
Yeah.
firm's stuff. I can see
Yeah.
that. That is a problem, and that is a bit unethical.
Yeah, I do see that. Yeah. I mean that is. I mean, I feel like unless Sokolov had documents in place, like then like that's why you need to have that. Um,
But
but
if this Glover is listen, nobody can just look at a playbook and then replicate it successfully. So if he is successful with this playbook at JSIL, I'm thinking he's probably good at his job. He
yeah,
probably was going to need use the same techniques and tactics anyway. He erred most likely in letting them have direct access.
yeah,
But look, there's unless they can show, and I don't know. I don't know the whole court documents. I'm sure it'll play out in court unless they settle. If there was any proprietary stuff, I didn't see any mention of proprietary material.
no,
So, uh, yeah, I see why they're mad. But then now they've invited the countersuit, which opens up a whole new bag of criticism. Because now
yeah,
you're looking at Sokolov and going, well, what are they?
yeah,
And now we can talk about this is what do we think about Legion? We could start it's expensive, but we could start a personal injury lead generation site for South Carolina
Yep.
because we can do that. And we're not trying the cases. We'd have referral partners. We just
Yeah.
refer them out.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it if you have the money and knowledge and the skills to build up SEO for that area. Uh, well, not anybody. It does take some skill and it takes
Yeah.
time and money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the lawsuit, and I have seen that floating around for a few days, and I wanted to see what you thought of it.
Yeah, no, I know you showed it to me and you're like, "Don't read it." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay," because you wanna get the real reaction, and I think I think it's really interesting. I think it's very challenging. We are seeing the growth of law firms exponentially, and I think with the entrance of private equity, I think we're gonna see even more dominance from certain firms versus others. I think I don't think it's all doomsday. I think people are going to trust who they want to trust. And I think there are people who are always going to prefer boutique versus corporate, and I think
yeah.
that's valid. Um, I think it's going to be harder for more of the catastrophic cases to be taken on by the more boutique law firms versus the corporate just because they have the money to throw at it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it really is forcing attorneys to kind of question, like, what are these new ethical gray areas coming out? And who is
Uh,
profiting from it too? I mean, I think that's why my issue with private equity is like, who's profiting from it? Because it's not the clients anymore. It's, attorneys are barely, I mean, I don't say barely, we do get paid, but there are a lot of areas in which attorneys do not get paid, especially when starting out. And that's why we just branch off and do our own. So,
Now, and I don't want anybody that's watching this to think that we don't realize that attorneys have referral partners. I mean,
I
that's no
just I
secret.
just did an agreement for referral today, literally 10
Yeah,
like 20 minutes before we started this. Like referrals are a thing, 100%. But it's the transparency that we
that's the
need to
thing.
declare to the clients that are coming that like if Sokolove is not a true law firm, it is just a lead generation site, then like I mean, I don't know if we want to pull up the site to see if we can dig around it, but like, there needs to be transparency there. And then there also needs to be some type of, um, oh, you know what? You know what? Marble Law. Marble Law is another player that is a referral agency. So they ask you as an attorney to be an attorney for Marble Law. And really it's a lead generation. Like they're the ones that are overseeing and doing the intake and then
Right.
they're assigning it out.
So, and here's where I have problems with that because the consumer, the client, how much are they kept in the loop of what's going on? Do you know, most people aren't going to understand when they click on a lead gen site that that's not an attorney. And they probably have a hard time understanding which one's which. Uh, if they think they're going to a Sokolov and they end up with somebody else, at what point along the way do they know they're being transferred? They'll have to obviously know that the case has been put off on somebody else. Um, I think you're right. It's transparency. Like if you're going to refer somebody, I know you would say, I am not in a position to where I can take your case, but who can is this person who I have referred to many times before. I trust them wholeheartedly. You do not have to use them, but here's someone that I know. That's the kind of open transparency that people appreciate.
Yeah. Here's the thing, because I'm not going to throw any names under the bus, but I know you know. So what happens is they get admins to talk to these clients. And the problem with that is clients only want to talk to the attorney. They're paying for the attorney. And even though, yes, as the attorney, I am busy, I will never be too busy to talk to the client. Right. So, like,
Yeah.
that's what's really frustrating. because the client will be very rude and disparaging to these admin unnecessarily, I
Yeah.
think. But when they when I'm finally tired of hearing my assistant or the admin be like, they're being so rude, I'm like, just patch them through to me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, course corrected, ma'ams, please, thank yous, because they just want to hear from the authoritative source,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and you're
And
taking that all out, and I guess you will lose a sense of that kind of connection when you go to what I mean, I guess it's essentially a settlement mill for the most part for a lot of these. They're not trying cases, they're scooping up
it
and
is a settlement
sending
mill.
probably
Yeah.
some of the bigger ticket ones off to a firm who will try it and getting that juicy referral fee from it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we'll probably have to do some follow-up videos on this as this case plays out and or gets
I
settled.
would
I
love
feel like there's going to be a lot of settling real quick because of what just in general what can come out on this, because then they're gonna, I mean, if we get to discovery and they start asking for what, let me see your referral contracts, let me see, let's look at how many cases you've done on your own within the firm, how many cases have you even tried and taken to trial. If that all starts to come out, I could see a house of cards crumbling when it starts to appear that, oh, this is just a shell of a firm, if that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I feel like I want to read the actual complaint because I want to know what type of laws that they're asserting have been breached or broken or whatever, other than like good faith in business or
Yeah.
again, like contract issues, right, with employment or NDAs. So I'm really interested to read that part of it. But
Well, because they weren't surprised that he left. He left, and they didn't remove his access. Like, that's
well, that's what
whose
I
fault
don't
is
know.
that?
So like, did he leave and they didn't remove, or was he doing this while he was employed?
I mean, he'd already left, and they're saying that this all happened while he's with the other firm with it
Oh.
as their COO. So
Oh, so he had already left
yeah,
and they didn't do their due diligence of closing and shutting him out.
no.
Okay. Oh, that's a management issue. I love talking about law firm mismanagement because
And
it happens often.
at a place that's not a traditional law firm,
Yep.
who knows what their management looks like, and is it
Yep.
run by a lawyer, or is this just
Nope.
business people raking in
Nope.
money?
Yep. That's exactly what it is. I guarantee not a lawyer. Do you
We
watch
don't
The
know
Good
for
Place?
sure. Don't sue us, but that's
It's
just our
all
suspicion.
speculation. But have you seen The Good Place before, that show?
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah,
Yeah, so Janet, whenever they're like, "You go, girl," and she's like, "Not a girl,
yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah.
not a lawyer."
I am not a lawyer.
Not a lawyer.
Yeah, I think let's continue to look at this, and then let's
Yeah,
check back on this when there's any updates.
yeah,
We'll So interwebs, if you have any thoughts or if you know any, I know we don't have a lot of subscribers, but if we somehow end up in the algorithm and anybody knows any juicy stuff, if you DM
yeah,
us, we will anonymously talk about it, and we won't
we
even mention you.
will. I
We'll
know some
just say, here's what
people
we know.
I know some people in the Boston area. I won't name the firm, but I know them, and I know you know them because I'm obsessed with them, and I think I might
Yeah.
drop a line.
Yeah. If anybody wants to tell us, we will come on here and we will say what we heard, and
Yeah,
we'll also get into the mix and try not to get sued. I mean,
we're not gonna get
let's see.
sued. There's literally this is commentary.
Hey, Victoria, who's our general counsel? Is that you?
I mean, I am technically.
Well, we might have to get an outside. Let's just make sure we know how to find a lawyer though. So
Oh yeah,
we'll find the right ones.
yes,
So
yes.
okay,
Oh, that's
folks, that's
great.
all we got. If you want to follow along,
Yeah,
hit like and subscribe. And if you like this particular kind of stuff, obviously we're gonna get back to our regularly scheduled programming at some
I've
point.
always wanted
But
to do that. Is that what you do? Like and subscribe? Like, is that how you put your
Like and
fingers?
subscribe. Hit the like and subscribe
Click
right
the
down here
like,
below.
subscribe.
Over here, or it's over here. God, we gotta stop. We're not cool anymore. We gotta stop. All right, y'all. Have a good afternoon. Bye. Probably there were a lot of
Oh,
similarities, so they probably have a
hold on.
little harder time.
Say we're recording.
We're going in the video.
Oh my god. Can we please use that as a blooper? But just
Oh
like
yeah, that's going in.
put like a sticker over his face.